So, Alan, what would you say is the perfect length of a ceremony?
I would say which would be comfortable for everyone all round, including ourselves, between 30 to 35 minutes tops.
Yeah.
Not that I'm prone to timing, but that's what I would always tell my brides and grooms. And probably in recent times, when I had married a couple, it was just themselves and their two witnesses in the middle of nowhere. They didn't want the love story read out. They didn't want, just about their journey. All they wanted was the hand fasting, and then just straight on to the legal vows, and that was it. They just didn't want to do anything. And I thought, well, your ceremony would only last about 15 minutes, and straight away the groom jumped up off his chair, was yes, and that was it. So I thought, well, they're a happy customer straight away.
I think it's really important to couples understand that it can be as long or as short as they want.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, with symbolic gestures, they want them all, but they have to be mindful that they're going to be standing and their guests are going to be sitting for what could be up to an hour, which is long.
Mm-hmm.
But for couples who are maybe a little bit more nervous about being front and centre, I think it's important they understand that the only requirement is the legal declaration, the vows, the words on marriage. They don't have to have a love story if they don't want to.
Yeah.
Saying that though, I think I speak on behalf of most celebrants I know, and that's our favourite part, because we get to really know the couple and share their story with their guests, and all the weird and wonderful things that they've got up to as a couple. But if the couple don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
Yeah, of course. Savour every moment of the ceremony. Allow your guests to savour every moment as well, and that length of time that is just a guide, is is long enough before they start to get a bit restless and whatever else.
That's
when
it.
that party open up,
Exactly.
so that they can properly celebrate, so that they're getting that time.
What's beautiful about the ceremony is it's a starter for the day. It sets the tone.
Yeah.
So I think the days of the ceremony being the boring bit that everybody thinks, we've got to sit through this for however long.
Not when they see a humanist
Exactly.
ceremony.
So with a humanist ceremony, it makes it fun, it makes it personal, it makes it engaging for the guests as well as the couple.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about it being the need to have this done and then we can go and party. It starts the tone of the day.
And one of the things I always tell the brides and grooms, obviously we can gauge it by the amount of words that's throughout our script, right? And when I'm going through the beginning, before I even come on to the love story, when I talk about how we grow in love rather than fall in love, because everything that falls breaks, everything that grows gets stronger. It's like when I see the expression on the guests' faces, like, and it's like when you start to read the audience and they start to their expressions change, you think, right, I'm doing my job right here. And then when it comes on to the journey of the love story, if you hear a laughter, or if you hear some sort of reaction coming from the audience, again, you thought, right, I've got it, I'm on a roll here, and then it's when the ad-lib sort of word comes in, it was one of my brides and grooms I had says, well, basically, family and friends, they met, got married, put a house together, and they have a pet dog. The end. And I slammed the book shut, and well, that just caused an uproar and a round of applause, And it was like end of part one. But it didn't infringe upon the length of time or anything like that. It then brought more of the audience together to think that this is actually quite enjoyable.
So the other thing that couples need to consider as well is not only the time that the ceremony takes, as in the wording, but also you've got the entrance where the bride or groom will walk in with their bridesmaids, groomsmen. You've also got the signing of the marriage schedule to consider, and then the exit. So that again all takes up time. So what's your experience with that?
Every venue is different, isn't it? And I think we need to gauge how long is it going to take the bride to walk down the aisle. How quickly does she want to be down the aisle? Does she want to savour that moment of walking down perhaps quite a lengthy aisle, compared to some venues when it's quite short.
There's also the amount of bridesmaids and groomsmen they've got. So if you've got a couple who've got The bridal party consists of 15 people. That's going to take time for, and that's also really interesting for the music consideration as well, because they need to have music if it's one song that will allow them time all to come in at the same time.
Absolutely. And one of the, when you're talking about how many bridesmaids are they going to have, and how big is the venue, how big is your space, where the bridesmaids might all be standing, and it all seems quite squashed in together. During the signing of the marriage schedule, what I always like to tell the bride and grooms, just take that few moments to compose yourself before the closing words or before you do the drinking of the quaich. So I always encourage them just to have that moment, just to share a few kind words with each other, before they stand back up again in the closing words, or if they have the drinking from the quaich, before I then proudly introduce them as the new Mr. and Mrs. Surname.
I think for me, it's actually, as someone who comes along to observe ceremonies, it's actually my favourite part is the sign-in. It's most people's most boring part because everyone's just sort of sat about. But for me, it's the first time you see the couple relax, you see them together. You guys get to interact with them and do the, congratulations, and then their witnesses come up and do the same. And to me, it's just the most beautiful part of the ceremony. I love all parts of the ceremony, but that in particular for me, it's when you see the couple just go, we're married, and I love it. I just think it's such a beautiful moment. And of course, the other thing to consider with the sign-in is whether or not you're going to invite guests up to take photos. A lot of couples now have unplugged ceremonies, because they, pay for photographers and content creators and videographers to be there. But they need to be considerate of the time it's going to take if they have 100 guests who all want to come up and take a photo at that moment as well. So all of these things play in, but you can always be guided by your celebrant, but not also the venue that you choose, because they will have a timings that they need to stick to. So they need to take into consideration the photographs after, what time dinner's going to be served, all those kind of things. So use the experts that you are working with to give you that advice.